Guys. So this is Gabi, your friendly conservation biologist, here on a Sunday. It is 4 o'clock today, and I just kind of want to do an impromptu video on work-life balance because I think that's a really important thing to talk about for people who are in conservation, but I think it's pretty common across many STEM fields as well, is that work-life balance is tough. So it is 4, like I just said, and I haven't worked today. Which is the first time I haven't done anything on any projects or anything like that for a long time. I'm trying to think about the actual amount of time, but for a long time. And yeah, I think it's important to take breaks, and I'm really glad I did. So just kind of a thought through the process. I think it's really easy to feel guilty when we're not being productive. I know over the last month I've done a lot. I just filed my Fulbright application and did an abstract for a conference and worked on papers and did all these other kinds of stuff. And yeah, um, I'm tired. Right. So I think just being able to take a break. So just kind of talking about a little bit about hobbies. So yesterday I took my dog to a dog costume contest for Halloween, and we went as Han Solo and as Chewbacca, which was fantastic. We got second place. I'm really proud of that. And today I literally have just been watching movies and cleaning my house a little bit, and it's been awesome. I had this whole thing planned out today that today I was going to sit down, I was going to keep buckling down and work on some edits to some papers I've been doing. I've gotten some feedback from some of my co-authors, and it's all good, but like there's a lot still left to do, and I didn't do that. And I think the important thing, at least for me, that I found is that if you don't take breaks, you actually end up being less productive over time. You are able to do your best work because you're just burned, you know? And I think that's really important. So, kind of measuring, do you want to kind of do a lot but have it not all be your best work, or do you want to be able to take breaks and kind of focus and make sure you're doing the best outputs that you can? And this is going to be individual to every single person. I mean, I'm just talking about like what works for me. So I'm really proud of myself that it didn't work. Later, so one thing you guys are going to learn about me on the channel is that I'm a huge nerd, and I say that with pride. So I'm going to be playing Cosmic Encounter, which is a fantastic board game of diplomacy and of war with different aliens, and I'm super psyched, and I have friends coming over in an hour, and I'm going to do that. So not sciencing today, but that's also part of taking care of the whole person of me and not just becoming an automaton, or a robot. So yeah, drop down in the comments if you're watching, guys. Like, what are some of the hobbies that you do? Because I think it's great to kind of open up about what we do. So my hobbies are board gaming. I love board gaming. I love to play different board games. Some of my favorites are I like War of the Ring, which is like a 6-hour monstrosity of a board game, but it's so great because it's pretty much the closest you can get to actually being in Middle Earth and doing the whole thing, because you play as the Free Peoples or as kind of the dark armies of Sauron, and it's super rad. But I also like more kind of like simple stuff. I mean, when I was in Namibia, we used to just play Uno all the time because that's like the only board game we had. And I got really good at Uno and made so many friends doing it. So that's a big one. I do cosplay. Big fan of cosplay. Just finished the Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. So that was super cool. So sometimes I'm doing that. Reading, writing. I enjoy writing as well. And obviously, YouTubing. It's kind of a avocation and a hobby. I like talking about science and doing SciComm outside of just working on peer-reviewed publications. I think it's good to kind of do things for different audiences as well. So, yeah. So for all you sciencers out there, It's okay. You can take a break. Go walk your dog. You know, go watch a YouTube video, which I think you're doing because you're here. um, don't feel guilty that you're not working all the time because it's really important to take care of yourself, not just so you can be more productive, but so you can be a whole person. Because that's what we are. I mean, we're people, otherwise we just be robots. And I think a lot of the pushing for productivity can be a little negative sometimes. Especially, when, it's kind of, it sometimes seems like it's a race to the finish line, like we need to finish something. Oh my goodness, like before this certain age, or like before we do this, or before someone else does that. And it's not a race. It's going to be okay, you know. And also the whole idea that it's really easy to get wrapped up in kind of what someone else is doing. So look at someone else's career and be like, hey, that person's doing amazing and I wish I had that, but it's important to know that you don't really know what their path is. Sorry, I just got a message from people, so ignore that Skype message sound. But you don't really know what their path is or what's going on with them, you know what I mean? So they might have had a different starting point than you. They might be figuring stuff out kind of behind the scenes, especially with social media. It's very easy to kind of look at everyone's highlight reel and be like, why aren't I perfect? like they are. But we're all just figuring stuff out. And we're all doing things at our own time. And that's the time that we're supposed to be doing them, Like, just because you haven't done something insanely amazing by the age of whatever, or you haven't accomplished all of your personal goals. Like, I think it's a dichotomy, right? So I don't know if I ever told you guys this. So I'm a childhood cancer survivor. And one of the things that came out of that was I've always kind of felt this drive that, you can get hit by a bus tomorrow. So you should work on whatever you find important because, you don't know, which has been helpful in keeping me productive. But I think it also could turn into a very negative thing in terms of just driving yourself into the ground. So finding that balance and knowing that whatever path you're taking, especially something like conservation, which is like incredibly broad. I mean, I think in my last interview, Susan Chain, she said, it could be anything, there's so many different ways to be a conservationist or to be a scientist or be involved in science. So your path is going to be long and twisty and full of all kinds of things. Some days you're going to feel amazing, and some days you're going to feel like the most unproductive human on the planet, and that's normal. And just, I guess what I'm trying to say, guys, is that make sure you take care of yourself, no matter what you're doing, and take time for all the little things that make you happy, the people in your life, and whatever you love. Like, one of my biggest things is I love my dog. I get really emotional. I love my dog. My dog's name is Churchill. He's a giant black lab. He makes a great Chewbacca. He's just amazing. And sometimes, when I'm strung out or I'm doing a lot of work, he reminds me like, oh yeah, like let's go outside, or like let's play with this chew toy, or like let's just chill and watch something together. It's like he's very grounding, and I think find that thing in your life that grounds you, and yeah, don't be afraid to be a human, because that's kind of the best thing about us is that we're still figuring things out, especially for you young guys out there who are just getting started. There's a lot of pressure. I know, like I felt it, I've gone through it. You're gonna be okay. Like no matter what the world has to throw at you, you are going to be fine. And let yourself take that time and let yourself develop and let yourself learn, and don't lose that motivation, but don't push yourself to the point where it's meaningless, because this is also supposed to be fulfilling you and making you happy. You are more. Everybody out there, it took me years to learn this, but I want you guys to hear it, is that you are more than your career, and you are more than your success in your career. And just make sure that you take the time to value that. All right. Happy Sunday, guys. Next week, I'm going to be putting up a great interview with a new contact of mine about media representation of people in STEM. So stay posted on that, and hopefully you guys are getting in some relaxation this weekend. All right. See you soon.